सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। हरिः ओम् श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ओम्. We are in chapter 16, Daivasura Sampadvibhaga Yogam, and we have completed the first sloka and also the second sloka. We are continuing the second sloka now. Ahimsa satyamakrodaha tyagasyantirapaisunam daya bhuteshu loluptvam mardhavam hrirachapalam. Ahimsa, non-violence. Satyam, truthfulness. Akrodaha, not hurting anyone. Tyagaha, renunciation. Shanti, tranquility of mind. Apaisunam, not blaming others, not finding faults of others, not to find the defects of others. Bhuteshu daya, to have compassion and love on all living beings. Aloluptvam, to have control on indriyas, sensory control. Mardhavam, gentleness. Hrihi, to feel ashamed of doing illegitimate and adharmic things. Achapalam, not to have any kind of wavering mind. So, we have some more values prescribed in this sloka. We will see what are all those values. One is non-violence. This already we have discussed in the previous class. I will give you in brief. This violence can be oral, mental, and also physical. Mental means in the mind level, you should not think of ill of anyone. You should have healthy mind and healthy attitudes towards everyone. And when it comes to verbal, you should be very polite and you should not hurt by harsh words and scolding and all that. You should always talk good of people and encourage people, talk welfare of the people. And you should be a Sreyobilashi. So, this is in the verbal level. Then coming to physical level, you should not harm anyone physically. So, these are the three things you should follow. When you follow this is called ahimsa. That means not resorting to any kind of violence, verbally, mentally, and physically. Not by mind, by word, by deed. You are not doing any kind of violence. This is called ahimsa. Then the next value, which already we have discussed in the previous class, is satyam. Truthfulness. We should not talk lie. We have to maintain the truthfulness always. Because the Shastra said that you have to speak truth, you should not hurt others. Wantonly, you should not find out some weak point in others. Though it is truth, you need not highlight that and tell in the open public to hurt that person. So, you have to speak truth, but you have to be very polite. And you should be always a good Samaritan. Then, akrodaha. Akrodaha means to have control over your anger, to handle your anger gently. So, this anger is a very powerful thing. It will hurt the person to whom it is intended to, and also hurt the person who expresses anger. So both the parties will get the effect. So we usually shout at others and give a vent to our feelings, but we feel bad afterwards, and the other person who receives this scolding also will get a kind of ill feeling. So, as far as possible, you have to reduce your anger. So, this is what we have mentioned. There are so many reasons for getting anger. Just like if you get headache, there will be so many reasons. It may be due to your sight problem. If you have to change your spectacle, you may get headache. Or it may be due to stomach ache. Or it may be due to some infection. So, there are so many reasons. Similarly, if you're getting anger, instead of fuming and getting immediately into action, immediately responding, you have to think a while what could be the reason, how to address it. Like that, if you think coolly, you can evaluate the situation and you may solve it amicably. This is the thing we have to do it instead of responding immediately and shouting at the people. Then the next one is Tyagaha, 13th value. 13th value, already this also I think we have covered in the last class. This is Tyagaha means renunciation. This renunciation means not taking sannyasa. Sannyasa, of course, is there, but it is not always the sannyasa. The renunciation is of two types, outward sannyasam and inward sannyasam. Outward sannyasam is called Bahya sannyasam. Shastra prescribes 4 different ashramas for the humanity. One is called Brahmacharyam, the celibacy. Then Gruhastu, the householdership. Sannyasam, the to become a monk. Then Vanaprastham. So, after Gruhastha ashrama, one can lead a life in a solitary atmosphere away from the family. That is called Vanaprastham. He need not become a sannyasa. So, this Vanaprastham is in between Gruhastha and sannyasam. It is as good as sannyasam, but he will be living with his wife in Vanaprastham. So, this is what we call Tyagaha, the external sannyasam, Bhakya sannyasam. So, this is one of the ashramas, either Vanaprastha or sannyasa is called Tyagaha, external sannyasam. Then the other one is called internal sannyasam. This is otherwise called Vairagyam, dispassion. Dispassion towards what? Dispassion towards the things you have accumulated. Dispassion towards people around you, including your own relatives and family members. And to have a proper perspective. Dispassion means not to run away from them. You will be living with them. You will be transacting with them. But in your mental plane, you understand that you are asangaha. That antar sannyasam, that internal renunciation is very important. As Atma, I have no relationship. Atma is asangam. My reality is Atma. So, I am only playing the role play. as father, as a brother, as a Sishya, like that. So, if you understand that the entire transaction in the Vyavahara is a role play, then it will not taint you. It will not make you attached towards the people. So, you can have dispassion in the mental level. This is very important. Even though you take sannyasam, bahya sannyasam, unless and until you have antara sannyasam, it is of no use. So antara sannyasam is very important. So inside your mind, you should be detached. You should be having that asangatvam. Asangatvam is the main thing. Because we know that Bhagavan has given all this. Nothing is yours. He is going to take away all these things one day or other. So better you understand and live with that reality. Nothing is yours, including your family members, including your people around you. So nothing is under your control. So everything is God's play. So if you understand this, then you can have this antara sannyasam. Antara sannyasam is very important. When time comes, you have to return everything with thanks. Return with thanks. So with this attitude, you should live here. All the possessions you have to leave, all the family members you have to leave and go alone. And leave this body ultimately. So this naked truth, if you digest, then you can have antara sannyasam very quickly. So this is what we have to understand. Then the 14th value is called Shantihi. Shantihi means a tranquil mind, not having any kind of pressure and all that. This is something called Anayasaha. This kind of peaceful mind you should have all through the day. This is what Krishna Paramatma mentioned, Samatvam Yoga Uchyate in Bhagavad Gita. So if you follow Karma Yoga, automatically you get Samatvam. So the value called Shanti is very, very important because it can make your mind tranquil and make your buddhi, the intellect, very sharp. If mind is agitated, if mind is under pressure, your intellect will not work. So if you have to learn Vedanta, if you have to do Sravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam, the necessary thing is your mind should be tranquil. Your mind should be at peace. So this kind of peaceful state is called Samatvam. This is possible with Karma Yogam. Then Shamam, Damam. Shamam means mental control, Damam means sensory control. So you will have Samam also by Shanti. Apaisunam is the 15th value. Apaisunam means to find the fault of others. This is the always a kind of thing we entertain without our knowledge. We love to find faults of others. We show what are all the defects of others, and in a magnifying lens we see them and then criticize others. Now, Apaisanam on the contrary tells you not to criticize others. You have to see the good qualities of others and then you have to praise them. Paraguna Prakatikaranam, Paradosha Tirodhanam. That means you have to highlight the good qualities of others and you have to hide the bad qualities of others. This is what a good friend does. So you should be like a good friend to everyone. So what are the good qualities the other person has, you have to notice and then you have to tell that in public. So this is the thing. Apayasana means not to find fault from others. Daya bhuteshu. Daya bhuteshu means to have compassion towards all living beings. You should be having absolute love towards every living being. Unconditional love you should have towards all living beings. So we have Pancha Mahayajnas, we have what is called Bhuta Yajna. You should do Bhuta Yajna like you should feed the animals and try to protect the animals. This is called Daya Sarva Bhuteshu. Then the next value is Aloluptvam. Aloluptvam means not getting tempted by sensory organs. So you have to have a kind of control over your temptation. So the entire world is like a magic. It tries to attract you and then enslave you. So you should not get attracted or lured towards any kind of attraction, and then you should have control over your indriyas. Atma Nigraham, this is what we call. This Atma Nigraham is called Aloluptvam. Earlier we have seen Damam means Indriya Nigraham, and Aloluptvam means you have some bad habit. You should try to avoid. If you can avoid first time smoking, you have avoided for good. If you hesitate and smoke just to appease your friends, then that means you become slave to that bad habit. So you should know how to have a control over your indriyas. So this is what we have in this particular topic called Aloluptvam. Then 18th one is Mardhavam. Mardhavam means gentleness. To talk politely with everyone, not to be rash with anyone. So this is one quality of this bhakta or the sadhaka. So Vajradapi Katorani Mruduni Kusumadapi Lokottaranam Chatansi Kohi Vijnatumarhasi. So the mind is very, very pure and tranquil. The mind will have different values. If you look at one angle, you see that mind is very strong. If you look at another angle, you see that mind is very, very, very sensitive. On one case, mind is very strong as a diamond. On another case, it is very delicate as a flower. So both are opposite attributes. How do you accomplish this? So when a jnani has to face a very difficult situation, if somebody is scolding, somebody is insulting him, so he will not reciprocate immediately. He will just accept them and then will not respond to the situation. So if they have to do vyavahara, so he will have a very strong mind. If somebody insults him, if somebody harms him, he will have a strong mind. He will not react. He will not scold them again in return. In some situations, they will not have this strong mind. They have a very sensitive mind, and they express their compassion and love towards the people. This is another angle. One angle is they have a strong mind to face anything. The other mind is they can express their compassion and goodness in every aspect. So, this is what we call Mardhavam. Mardhavam means the polite behavior. He can be very euphemistic in his approach to people, and he uses all polite language and always talks softly and lures people. Then the 19th one is Hrihi. Hrihi means feeling shy and feeling very submissive. So, he always feels bad if he is not doing good to people. He always thinks, he could have done better than this. He could have helped poor people better than this, because he was having the limitation of the money and other resources. That's why he is not able to extend his charity to a great level. So that kind of humility will be there, which is called Hrihi. So this is what we have to understand. Then Achapalam. Achapalam means, Chapalam means not to have any kind of firmness, not to have any kind of stiff behavior. Always, he will be either, shaking his leg and all that, or he will be, having a pen and he throws it. So like that, he will always have a funny kind of gestures. Because of the wavering mind, Chapalam, he cannot take decisions. He cannot, make any kind of venture, because the wavering mind always takes him to the backbench. So, Achapalam means not to have any kind of this behavior. He is always having a firm mind, and he will behave very decently. So, this is what we have in the sloka number 2, and we will proceed to the third sloka. Teja kshama dhrutis saucham adroho nati manita bhavanti sampadam daivim abhijatasya bharata. Tejaha. Tejaha means the tejas. Kshama. Kshama means to have titiksha, to have forbearance, to have fortitude, to have a kind of patience. Dhruti. Dhruti means courage. Saucham. Saucham is purity. Adroha. Not to have any kind of enmity towards anyone. Na atimanita. Not to have too much of expectation. Bharata, hey Arjuna, Daivi Sampadam. These are all called Daivi Sampatti. So, we have the Daivi Sampatti means this is called the divine aspect in the human being. So, if one possesses this Daivi Sampatti, then he will be living happily. He can be, welcomed by the society. Daivi Sampadam Abhijatasya Bhavanti. So, those people who are, acknowledged with these qualities which are mentioned here, they are treated as with the people with Daivi Sampada. Daivi Sampada means noble values. He Bharata, Tejaha, Kshama, Dhritihi, Saucham, Adroha. Na atimanita daivim sampadam abhijatasya purushasya bhavanti. Tejaha means goodness. So, you should have that goodness, and because the goodness, people may take you for a song. People will underestimate you. People will belittle you. So even though they misbehave and belittle and all that, you behave properly. You behave with respect. You behave in such a way that you don't lose your temper. You don't lose your elements. You are always in your elements. But at the same time, if it is going beyond a proportion, if other person is taking advantage of you, then you have to put your foot down and then tell them this is not the way. So, Tejaha means you should always have a courage. You should always establish yourself. You will not allow others to take advantage of your goodness. At the same time, you will not fume for simple things. You know how to tackle things because you have that charisma. Then Kshama. Kshama means it is a kind of fortitude. Titiksha. Titiksha means you can have patience over the situation. Matra sparsastu kaunteya sitoshna sukadukkadaha agama payano nityaha tam titikshasva bharata. This is what Paramatma mentioned in 2nd chapter 14th sloka. The word Kshama has got so many meanings. One meaning is to bear, to tolerate. The second meaning is it is kashta sahishnutvam. Shankara Bhagavad-pada is giving a totally different meaning. We have a word called akrodaha in this very descriptions. So for akrodaha means if you get anger, you handle that anger. That is called akrodaha. So very powerful emotion is anger. So if you don't control this emotion, it will be very dangerous for you. So akrodaha means to handle anger in a gentle way. Now this word Kshama is opposite to akroda. That means even in your mind, also you don't have any kind of anger on anything. So this is a great value. So if you have a good feeling in the mind, then that is called Kshama. You have an absolute control over your mind. This is called akrodam. Is it possible to live without anger? It appears as though it is difficult. So some psychologists say the anger is a healthy habit. So this is a natural consequence. They cannot understand a situation without anger. Psychologists deny that you will not have a situation without anger. Shankara Bhagavad-pada says it is possible to control the anger absolutely, but he did not tell how you can control. So the thing is, you should know the root, how this anger is triggered. If you know the root, you can address it. Kamayesha krodayesha rajoguna samudbhavaha. Shankara Bhagavad-pada defined anger. So anger comes when you expect something and you don't get that expectation. The expectation did not materialize. Then that expectation becomes anger. Whatever comes in your way to achieve that expectation, you get anger on that. In a simple way, if you have to define anger, anger is triggered by a desire. A desire triggers the anger. If desire is fulfilled, you want more. If desire is not fulfilled, you get anger. So when a desire turns out to be anger, then you should have some method to control this anger. If you have less desires, you have less anger. So, more anger you have means more desire you have. So, a person who fumes and who makes ruckus over the situation is a person who is having lots of desire. This is what we have to understand. Drutihi. Drutihi means courage and to have a perseverance to do a thing until it is successful. The best example is Samudra Mathanam. So, both Rakshasas and Devatas, they churned the milky ocean to get Amrutam. So, they did not get it immediately. They had to go through so many hurdles, but they did not leave. Similarly, there is another story which they say, Bhagiratha Prayatnam they call. Bhagiratha wanted to bring Ganga from sky to earth. So, he had to undergo a lot of difficulty, but he never gave up. He wanted to be successful in this. So, he saw to it and finally he brought Ganga to earth. So, there will be three types of people, Nicha, Madhyama and Uttama. Those people who are in the lowest category, they will not take up a work because it will anyway fail. So why should I take up this work? Like this their attitude will be. The second kind of variety is they take up the work. Whenever they come across any difficulty, they leave it in between. They will not see the end. The third one is these people who leave it in the middle due to difficulty and obstacles is called Madhyamaha. Then the third category is Uttamaha. These people, in spite of the difficulties, in spite of the obstacles, they struggle and finally finish this work. These are the people with perseverance, dhriti. Saucham. Saucham means cleanliness, which is there in the 13th chapter, Acharyopasanam Saucham. So, this cleanliness, especially our personal cleanliness, we only have to take care. So, we'll see that our house is very clean and all this dirt we throw it outside the house and we don't mind our street is dirty. This should not be the attitude. You should be clean inside the house and also outside the house. So, this kind of cleanliness is very important. Antara Saucham, Bahya Saucham. Both are important. Adrohaha. Adrohaha means in a mental state, you should observe ahimsa. Himsa, ichha, abhavaha, ahimsa. So, you should not entertain even in the mind any kind of himsa towards anyone. This is called adrohaha. You should not physically manhandle anyone. Natimanita. Natimanita means you should not have any kind of boasting, any kind of praising yourself. It is a kind of humility, opposite to pride. So, in the previous chapter, we have what is Adambitvam. That Adambitvam is here mentioned as Natimanita, Na Atimanita. This is how Krishna Paramatma mentioned 26 different values. If one has all these 26 values, he is supposed to be equipped with Daivi Sampatti. Sampadam Daivim Abhijatasya. So all the 26 values, if he has, is a man of Daivi Sampat. And the contrary, if he is not having these virtues, if he is having all other things opposite to this, then that is called Asuri Sampatti. Every one of us must try to get Daivi Sampatti. This is what we should understand. Then we will see what are all the 26 values one by one quickly. So from sloka number 1 up to 3, Paramatma has given 26 different values. All these 26 values together, they are called Daivi Sampatti. One should imbibe this Daivi Sampatti, and then they will become qualified for sadhana. We'll quickly go through all the values because we have completed all the 3 slokas. Before we conclude, we'll try to understand one by one quickly. The first one Paramatma has given is Abhayam. Abhayam means we should have the fearlessness. That means we should be free from all kinds of fears. Janma dukkam, jara dukkam, marana dukkam. Like that, there are so many dukkhas, so many miseries in the life. So if you want to be free, you should know your reality. You should know your real nature and try to stay in that nishtha. So here, that fearlessness can be achieved by the practice of dhanam and other thing. I told you in the beginning, if you do dhanam, you know that you are going to leave everything. Only if you do charity, you are ready to part with everything. Otherwise, the death will be a misery. During the time of departure, you feel that you have built so much of thing and nothing is coming with you. You are unable to take anything. You are so helpless. That kind of helplessness will trouble you a lot, and it is a very bad state. So if you do charity, if you understand that nothing is yours, then only you will be able to do charity. So you get abhayam, fearlessness. Then sattva samsuddhihi, the mental purity. This mental purity is very, very important. Chitta suddhi. Chitta suddhi can be achieved by karma yoga, and it can be achieved by various other karmas like pancha mahayajnas and the vihita karmas. You can achieve chitta suddhi. That means the purity of mind. You can avoid ragam, dvesham, kamam, krodham, like that. All the shades of mind can be processed by this pancha mahayajnas and karma yoga. So sattva samsuddhihi. Then jnana yoga vyavasthiti, the steadfastness in jnana and yoga. You should have the perseverance to understand jnana and the yoga. That kind of steadfastness must be there in both jnana yoga and karma yoga. Then charity. I told you, you have to necessarily do charity in order to broaden your mind. Start with a little charity. Find a needy person and give him something. So this is what you can start with. This will expand your mind, make you understand nothing comes with you. This is a very important value which is mentioned on and on and on in the Vedic literature. Damaha, the sensory control, the control of senses, equally important value. Unless you have control of sense, you cannot proceed spiritually. If you don't have sense control, you are stuck somewhere. You are stuck to TV, you are stuck to, mundane things. You cannot come out of these things unless you have sense control. Then after damaha, yajnaha. Yajna means doing daily puja. I told you this puja can be of 2 types. One is your puja in front of the altar, addressing the God, and you can perform your puja in such a way that you can do your Vishnu Sahasranamam or Lalita Sahasranamam, whatever it is, you can perform that and do your puja. The second kind of puja is Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga means you do whatever you do in a mundane way, your office work and whatever you are doing, all that work you have to convert into puja. That is called Ishvara Arpana Buddhi. And you receive the karma phala as Ishvara Prasada Buddhi. Whatever comes, if it is favorable or not favorable, you have to accept it as prasadam, Ishvara Prasadam. You should not brood over it. So this is what we call yajna. Then swadhyaya, scriptural study. The scriptural study is of two types. One is oral, that is chanting Vedic literature with swara and all that, without meaning. The second one is studying with meaning. That's what we are doing now. We are studying the scriptures with meaning. The second one is superior because you know the meaning, then you can dwell on the meaning and get the benefit. So, Swadhyaya is a scriptural study. Then Tapaha. Tapaha means austerity. This austerity is defined as Kashta Sahishnutvam Tapaha. To take up a difficult task purposefully, wantonly, willfully, in order to have control over senses, in order to have control over mind. So this is taken up by sadhakas and they practice. Like the 40 days Diksha of Ayyappa Diksha, then Chardham Yatra, we have given so many examples. Going uphill. Uphill means going up the 7 hills by barefoot or by walk. So all these things, they talk about tapaha, sarira pidanam. That's what Shankara Bhagavad-pada defined this. The next one is arjavam. Arjavam means straightforwardness. Straightforwardness, that is, you have whatever is there in your mind, the same thing should come out of your mouth. Whatever you speak, the same thing you have to do. There should be an alignment in your mind, word and deed. Mentally, orally and physically, you should maintain that balance. This is called straightforwardness. Ahimsa, non-violence. You should not resort to any kind of violence. Mentally you should not hurt, physically you should not hurt, or orally you should not hurt. Then satyam, truthfulness. Here we have cautioned, you have to speak truth, but at the same time you should not hurt others. You have to talk politely and you should talk of welfare of others. And you should think of the goodness of others and then talk. You should never hurt by talking the truth. Akrodaha, control of anger, handling the anger. This is a great technique. You should try to cultivate how you can control. There are many techniques given in the Shastra. You can follow them and control your anger. This is a very important sadhana. Tyagaha, renunciation. So this renunciation is also an important value. You should try to renounce everything. Antara sannyasam and bahya sannyasam. Two types of renunciation we have mentioned. Bahya sannyasam is to take up sannyasa diksha and wear the akarobes and live the life of a monk. Then the antar sannyasa is to have dispassion over all the things. Asangatvam. This is called antara sannyasa. Then Shantihi. Shantihi means tranquility. You should have peace and tranquil mind so that you can live happily. So this can be achieved only by control of the mind. If you agitate for simple things, you can never have tranquility of mind. If you have control over your mind, then you can achieve tranquility. For this, meditation is the best method. If you resort to meditation, if your mind is wavering and quickly responding and creating problems for yourself and others, then you should necessarily take up meditation and achieve that peaceful mind. Apaisunam. Apaisunam means avoidance of slander. Not to blame, not to find fault of others. We should not find defects of others. We should always think of good qualities of others. Daya bhuteshu. Daya bhuteshu. To have kindness to all living beings. We should be compassionate to all living beings. This is a very important value. Aloluptvam, freedom from temptation. Temptation is one thing which will spoil the sadhaka. So we should have control over temptation. That is why this tapas, the tapaha is given. When you do this austerity, you have control over temptations. Especially if you are a diabetic patient, you should have absolute control over eating sweets. So this is what we called aloluptum. You should not have any kind of laulyam, any kind of temptation you should not have towards eating things, towards a particular kind of attraction you should not get into. Like, gluing yourself to TV or gluing yourself to a game. Suppose there is some game in your phone, you become an addict. That is called laulyam. Or become addict to some kind of gambling. This is all laulyam. So if you have freedom from this laulyam, this is called aloluptvam. Mardhavam, gentleness. You should be gentle and polite in all aspects. This is a great value for a sadhaka. Hrihi. Hrihi means modesty. You should feel ashamed for not doing good things. Shastra has advocated you to do so many things. If you are not doing, you should feel ashamed and then take up that thing which you have not taken up so far. This is called modesty. Achapalam, freedom from restlessness. This restlessness is a common thing for a person who is having a wavering mind. So if you want to control this wavering mind, the best thing is to do meditation. Tejaha, smartness. You should be smart enough so that people should not take advantage of you because you seem to be very good, not showing up your response, not immediately fuming and all that. People try to take advantage, but you should be smart enough to overcome the situation. Kshama, patience. You should have patience to withstand any kind of odd situation because the society is full of temptation and exploitation. You should try to forgive and have a peaceful mind by having a kind of titiksha, a kind of patience. Dhriti. Dhriti means a fortitude. Fortitude means you should have a kind of perseverance to accomplish a thing. You should not leave a thing in the middle. If you take up a task, you have to see that you are successful. In spite of difficulties, in spite of obstacles. Then Saucham. Saucham is purity. You should have purity of mind. That purity is very important. If you have purity of mind, your thoughts will be pure, your words will be polite, and your actions will be very sattvic. Adrohaha. Absence of ill will. You should not think of any kind of bad, any kind of ill towards anything, towards anybody. That is called adrohaha. You should not think of any bad towards anything. Nati manitaha. The humility is one quality which is equal to adambitvam, opposite to pride. So you should be having that humility. By learning all this, immediately that pride will take place. You think that I know the entire Shastra, I am a Pandita, others are fools. Like that, you have that pride which comes immediately to your mind and you behave accordingly. You behave arrogantly with people. That should not be there. That dambatvam should not be there. Kind of pride should not be there. You should be having humility. You should have that vinayam. So these are the 26 values which Paramatma enlisted in this chapter. And with these 26 values, we should be able to equip ourselves and become sadhana chatushtaya sampannaha. If you become sadhana chatushtaya sampanna, then you are qualified for jnanam. So these 26 values put together, they are called Daivi Sampatti. We should strive to get this Daivi Sampatti. Om Tatsat Sarvam Sri Krishna Arpanamastu. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudatyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.